All right, folks, how are we doing today? Hopefully you're doing well. Hopefully you're surviving out there. It is April 7th, 2025, and I have an XRP market update. XRP bouncing back from this market crash, showing signs of strength and actually holding up really well, despite everything going on, which really we've summarized this as a global margin call. And it takes us back to that Japan carry trade unwind, which began in August. And what was interesting back then is the Fed had to step in and purchase some 50 billion worth of treasuries to backstop that collapse. Now this time around, you have the Fed trying to stay tough. Trump and Bessent were able to bring down rates themselves, but they're still requesting that Fed Chair Jerome Powell and the FOMC drop rates further. And I believe that it's because there's a looming situation here, a looming problem for America, which is foreign countries dropping more of our treasuries. And this is why the yield on the 10-year actually bounced back up here today. So we've been watching the bonds, the 10-year specifically, a little bit more closely lately, because we've seen Trump and Bessent have been able to move that without the Fed's help. And now the question is, the Fed was meeting today. The next FOMC interest rate decision is supposed to be scheduled for May 6th and 7th. Are they going to give us another pause? Or is this going to be when they finally capitulate and cut rates? Or, like JP Morgan already suggesting, we need to have an emergency rate cut. And I want to bring everybody's attention to the news and just how fake, once again, the mainstream media is, but how fragile our market is. At the same time, we see that all it takes is one positive tweet and then we shoot back up. So if you saw this morning, when I recorded the update this morning, it was like breaking when the statement from Navarro, who is on Trump's cabinet here, basically was taken out of context. CNBC and others started to report that Trump was going to pause tariffs for 90 days. Not a chance. And even when it dropped, I was still skeptical. I said, I don't think so. And sure enough, it comes out that that was fake news taken out of context. And it reminded me of back in the day when I used to get in trouble. I would always negotiate with my mother, and I'd always try to negotiate out of, being in timeout for 5 minutes or being grounded. I remember getting my Xbox taken away. That was the big one. She would take away my Xbox and she'd say, okay, your Xbox is gone for a weekend, or your Xbox is gone for a week. And I would come to the negotiating table, just like you're seeing Japan and so many of these other countries come back begging President Trump and the United States to do a deal. That was me going back to my mother, begging and pleading and trying to do my best to negotiate. And I was pretty good at negotiating. I was able to win it over, but it always came at a price. It always came at a price. My mother would say, okay, you want to get your Xbox back? You're going to go, clean up the house or go mow the yard. Or it would always be, something. She'd get something out of me, right? But it reminds me of that, when you're a kid that wants out of timeout. That's the mainstream media. That's the hedge fundies that are crying. They got their panties in a bunch, like Bill Ackman crying, right? That's what that reminds me of. Back when I was a little kid getting into trouble, trying to negotiate my way out. And you just were remaining hopeful that your parents were going to let you out of timeout. And in the similar way, you're seeing that was kind of the headline this morning. Oh, Trump's going to pause tariffs. No, he's not. No, he's not. But he is looking forward to negotiating these trade deals. And that's what we're already seeing unfold. I'm going to cover it here in this update. Wanted to come here live, kind of a mid-afternoon, midday update to give you guys the rundown on all the trade news, the trade war update, but then also honing in here on XRP. We got bullish catalyst from a fundamental level, which are still hitting XRP. We got the 2 times long XRP ETF getting approved, and it's actually going to be listed tomorrow. So while everybody's distracted by price, got some folks whining and complaining, let me know how that program works out. I don't think it's going to do much for you. Instead, it's time to embrace it. It's time to lean into your conviction that's backed by fundamentals. And what we continue to show you guys is that the suits are ready to sell this in 589 different ways. They just can't wait to. And so we have an ETF going live tomorrow, which is a 2 times long XRP ETF. I'm glad it's not a short one, but we do know that there are some short ETFs that have been filed as well. But it just reiterates the point of the suits getting ready to sell this thing 1,000 different ways. They can't wait to get in, and they need to get in because the traditional 60-40 portfolio just had its worst year in history. That was, actually, it was the bond market had its worst year in history. And then 60-40 portfolio had its third worst year ever. And essentially what the problem is these money managers need to figure out, one, how do we save the capital that we do have under management? We can't be in the stock market that's overvalued. But then on the flip side, when it is time to go risk on and this market is going to take off once again, all it's going to take is a couple tweets, a couple trade deals, and then we'll be blasting off, adding trillions to our market again. But is that the time to be in stocks? Or, as I've been saying, if you're really going to do the dance, let's get down and boogie and let's go into cryptocurrencies where we can hit it out of the park. Singles add up. It's always good to, get singles and doubles, they add up. But we also want to be ready to swing the big stick. And that's where we hit the 5 baggers and the 10 baggers straight on out of the park. And so we're just going to get right on into this update. I did want to let everybody know I'm going to be back live tonight for an X Space. I'm going to be on trench warfare. And these are some degens that I've been having a lot of fun with. I listen into their space, and it's funny because they're all degens, but they actually have some pretty high value conversations. I've been pleasantly surprised. And they go live at like 8 o'clock my time. So after I do my live show or late at night, I'll tune in, and I actually get quite a bit of value out of those sessions. And so that's going to be a lot of fun. Excited to go hang out with them. And that's going to be tonight at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. Then I also wanted to let everybody know that I will be back at XRP Las Vegas. And I just spoke with Brad Kimes and got the update from him. And it looks like I'm going to be moderating a few panels up there for the conference. And I'm looking forward to that. We're going to be moderating some panels with some familiar faces. And really looking forward to those conversations in that conference. And so if you are going to be at XRP Las Vegas, I will be there. Can't wait to meet you. Or if we've already met, see you again. It's going to be a lot of fun. So Vegas, we'll see you there. And then tonight for Trench Warfare, going to be a lot of fun. And then our usual live shows Tuesday, Thursday, 10 p.m. Eastern. Just wanted to give everybody a quick update on the scheduling. Okay, let's get into it. I like to have a good laugh when markets are going crazy like this, and I thought this was a pretty good meme. It says, "Babe, I got you a free red light therapy session at home," and it's the laptop with the blanket screen of red, a sea of red all across the markets. And that one made me laugh because wifey's got me on the red light therapy programs. I don't know. Supposed to be doing a bunch of different things for you. And so shout out to wifey for keeping our health in check. Now, this tweet just hits home for me so well because this basically summarizes my feelings on the market pullback. And basically everybody freaking out now about us being in a recession, about the stock market coming back down, when to me, this is the end, right? Just like Trump said, we've been given some medicine. Sometimes the medicine, you have a little reaction, right? But then you get through. And the operation is over. We took our medicine. We took the recommended dosage. We're going to heal up and be on our way. But this is when the mainstream media is telling everybody to panic, to sell off. This is the end of the world. No. The time to be worried about your job, about your 401k, about Main Street economy in your stock market portfolio was back in 2022 when we were actually in a technical recession, when our economy was starting to show signs of cracking, and when our traditional stock market, the NASDAQ, dropped by 30% and the S&P 500 was down 20%. That's when it was time to be sounding the alarms. And that's what I was doing, putting out my recession to-do list, warning people that, hey, our economy's cracking. If you actually take the time to decode this data, this is a lie. Yes, our stock market's rallied, but now it's folding over. We've entered correction territory. That's when it was a time to panic, especially about Main Street economy. But also it was a time to stay hedged on your portfolio when we saw the market drop. But Dan O'Donnell reminding us of what it was like back then, when nobody, remember, it was politically incorrect to call it a recession back then. We were supposed to feel warm and fuzzy inside about Main Street economy being, falling apart and showing signs of weakness. And we were also supposed to feel warm and fuzzy inside about the stock market, which at that time, back in 2022, the NASDAQ had dropped 30%, the S&P 500 was down 20%, and the media spent the year telling us that we weren't in a recession, and in fact, the definition of a recession we had always used wasn't actually correct. Remember, the technical recession, economics 101, is 2 quarters of negative GDP growth. We got that. Now, it was by a small amount. It wasn't a Great Depression. It wasn't extinction level, but it was a recession. And then we started to look at the cracks and we said, wait, what's going on here with all this government hiring? Yes, our jobs numbers are fine. Yes, unemployment's low, but why is this? Because the government was hiring a bunch of people, accounting for most of the jobs being added. And then people were getting 2 and 3 jobs to stay afloat because maybe they listened to my recession to-do list warning. The number one thing I said in my recession to-do list before crypto, before stocks, before precious metals, before what to do with your money, I said, focus on income first. Make sure you're going to have a job. Ask your boss directly, boss man, are we going to be around in 12 to 24 months? Because now you're starting to see it actually was a facade. Main Street economy was weak and only Wall Street was winning because they'd been propped up. Now it's reversing. So back when it was politically incorrect to call it a recession, we were in a recession. Back when we actually were crashing, you weren't supposed to talk about the crash. Now, fast forward here to the beginning of 2025, we get to blame this man, the big bad orange man. And he's even a little bit more orange with that filter that CNN puts on him, huh? You guys seen that one, right? He's a little bit more orange when they put on that filter, bump up the contrast there a little bit. All fake, all a facade, and all the spin factor that they've tried to put on this thing. And so this tweet right here just hits home to me because back when it was time to worry, back when it was time to get your house in order, that's when we were pounding the table. Now, when it's time to rebuild a new economy, Main Street's going to be winning again. The middle class is going to be winning again. And companies that are bringing manufacturing back to America are going to be winning again. That's why we're still so bullish, and we're getting even more bullish, is because we see that we're on the end of this storm. We're about to be out of this storm. For XRP, it's funny how the XRP story and timeline also matches up and coincides so well with what Trump's been doing and the direction and trajectory of our country under Trump's leadership. It's funny how those timelines are converging as XRP is about to be in the clear, the lawsuit's about to be dropped, ETFs are about to be going live, stablecoin legislation is about to be passed, all coinciding at the same time when we're opening up America once again. But let's give you the update here on the stock markets around the world. Appreciate you guys for tuning in here today. Yeah, I'm going to get Waters on, by the way. Waters Above is on my list. You guys can let me know in the comments down below. Anybody else that you'd like me to have on the show. I wanted to get Waters Above back on for his technical analysis. I want to get Michael Gayed back on for his market analysis. So I got a list of a few people that I'm working on, along with our deep dives on other cryptos too. It's going to be a big week, so make sure you guys have subscribed and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of our updates. Stock markets around the world getting smacked. Hong Kong down 13%, Taiwan 9%, Japan 9%, Italy, Singapore, Sweden, the rest here, this whole list just getting smacked. And this is, part of the reason why they're coming to the table. Secretary of Treasury Scott Bessent, following a very constructive phone discussion with the government of Japan, President Trump has tasked me and U.S. Trade Representative, that would be, is that Navarro? I forget who that is there, but it's going to be Scott Bessent, along with the U.S. Trade Representative, to open negotiations to implement the president's vision for the new golden age of global trade with Japan. So this is starting and really ramping up now. Bessent says you can expect that Japan will get priority due to their speed. So those who come to the table first are going to get priority or are going to get a fair deal. And it's very clear right now that Trump, his main focus is China, with them actually announcing an additional 50% tariffs on China if they don't back down. That's going to go into effect tomorrow. And I'm just cracking up with the mainstream media getting out their calculators, trying to figure out the formula. Oh, this doesn't add up. This isn't fair. Oh my goodness. And they're completely forgetting all of they just don't understand what the hell they're talking about other than spitting out and regurgitating their talking points. All the other trade barriers. It's not just the tariffs, it's the trade barriers too. And then the VAT tax and the subsidies and all of this. You got to add it all up together. But we're already getting big results. Secretary Bessent announcing up to 70 countries have now reached out to President Trump to negotiate on trade in less than a week. You see how quickly this is moving? See, as Bessent says right here, Trump gave himself maximum negotiating leverage, and just when he has achieved the maximum leverage, he's willing to start talking. So we start out by, and Trump said himself too, where we were starting out was actually nice. We could have gone further, but where we're starting out is nice, and the effects are immediate, with up to 70 countries already coming to the table. Zimbabwe suspending all tariffs on U.S. goods. You see how quickly? One after another coming to the table, or just folding completely and waving the white flag. Happens quickly. We got another one lined up here. Let me check it. What was it? Nope. That would be this one. Netanyahu in the Oval Office today will be totally eliminating their trade deficit with the United States, in addition to zeroing out tariffs on our country. We intend to do it very quickly. We think it's the right thing to do. I'm going to play this clip here. Netanyahu and Trump in the Oval Office. Now, I find it interesting too. Israel, one of our closest allies, coming to the table, one of the first to come get in line. Now Trump respectfully gets the chair ready for Bibi, right? He's getting the chair ready for him, helping him get in there, making him feel comfy, and but he's not relenting, right? Trump, although he's being nice and respectable, we're still going to make sure that this deal gets fulfilled and that they follow through with these commitments. But take a listen in here, Bibi Netanyahu from Israel.
First, if I can mention tariffs, it's a subject of some interest today. I can tell you that I said to the president a very simple thing. We will eliminate the trade deficit with the United States. We intend to do it very quickly. We think it's the right thing to do. And we're going to also eliminate trade barriers, a variety of trade barriers that have been put up unnecessarily. And I think Israel can serve as a model for many countries who ought to do the same. I recognize the position of the United States. It says, we're allowing other countries to put tariffs on us, but we don't put tariffs on them. And, I'm a free trade champion, and free trade has to be fair trade. And I think that's basically the position that you have put forward, Mr. President. We are going to eliminate the tariffs, and rapidly. I had the opportunity to speak to Secretary Lutnick yesterday. We talked about how we could effect this quickly, and I hope to bring the solution very quickly. We're not talking about intentions. We're not talking about just words. We're talking about results. And those results are going to come. That's the first.
Thank you very much. It's very nice.
Thank you.
Now, please. I see the comments on TikTok already. No, don't worry. I'm not praising Bibi as the greatest guy ever. That's not the point that we're making here. Remember, he said this is an example. This is a model for other countries to follow. And he's all about fair trade or free trade, but free trade has to be fair trade. And that's what we haven't had. And so you got even our allies like Israel, our quote unquote friends. Remember, President Trump and Lutnick, they've explained how even some of our closest allies have hit us the hardest and treated us the most unfairly. So, and so you're already seeing these countries come to the table. Not only are they eliminating their tariffs down to zero, but they also want to get that trade deficit back to even. In some of these countries, it's gonna take a lot for that trade deficit to close. The big one is China, obviously, with a $1 trillion trade deficit between our two countries. So that's the big one. And so we have a couple tough stances here. China, one of them. But first, the European Union proposes a 25% counter tariff on a range of U.S. imports to take effect beginning on May 16th. Now, I had actually said earlier this morning in this morning's update that I didn't think that the European Union was going to go through with this. We were getting kind of mixed signals where they wanted to go to zero tariffs, and then, they'd kind of threaten with some tough talk. And I said they probably weren't going to go through with anything. Now they're claiming that they're going to go through with a 25% counter tariff, but it's not going to go into effect till May 16th. Which gives them over a full month to negotiate. So, we're going to be watching this and, following along here. But it's interesting how some of these countries coming out of the gates talking tough, then they backpedal a little bit. Now it's no, we are going to hit you with something, but not till next month, not till May 16th, which gives them plenty of time to negotiate. And ultimately, at the end of the deal, we just want to see both of our countries have free and open trade, right? We want to work together, but we can't be taken advantage of. And that's very clearly been happening for a while now. White House confirms Trump tariffs on China to reach 104% with the new threatened rate. And this is what I'm talking about. I was just dying laughing because they were adding up the tariffs. Trump already had, 20% tariffs? I think he had 20% tariffs on China that he had implemented in his first term. And so then the most recent tariffs that he added was 34%, taking the total rate to 54%. And I was listening to Howard Lutnick on Bloomberg Television this past weekend, and they were adding it all up. So are you saying that the 34% is added to the 20%? So this is going to be over 50%? And Lutnick's laughing, and he said, yeah, that sounds about right. 20 plus 34, yep, that's 54. Yep, you got it right. And now they announce another 50% tariff tomorrow, and they had to get confirmation that that was on top of the 54, and the White House is confirming that, yes, that would be correct. 50 plus 54 is 104. 104% tariffs on certain products. Now, I want to be very clear, though, because I don't want to come off as, just an arrogant American that's thinking that we can just survive on our own completely. I mean, I've said that we can do just fine, right? We can live without some cheap crap. But we do want to have free trade with everybody. And we do have some vulnerabilities, 100%, especially in our financial market. And that's where we're vulnerable right now, is that we are getting hit by China offloading a massive amount of their treasuries. And the scary part is that they actually hold a lot more, along with Japan and many other foreign nations holding a big bag of our treasuries. And so China is one country that can respond with some strength and can hit us where we are vulnerable. So it's not that we're invincible, okay? And we do want to understand where we have vulnerabilities so that we can protect and hedge ourselves against that. Now, this is what we see here today. China responding to the threat by selling another $50 billion in treasuries. Oh, and by the way, the yield on the 10-year is now almost unchanged from Liberation Day. So after Liberation Day, we got more people that were buying the bonds, basically getting out of the stock market, going into bonds. That brought that 10-year down to 3.8% on Friday. That was the low, which is a full 100 basis points, a full 1% drop. It's equivalent to the Fed cutting rates, by a full 1%, right? Obviously, they don't directly impact the bond market, but that's where we base it off of, is the Fed makes a decision on that base rate that helps us justify the valuation and the pricing on our, short-term T-bills, your 3-month, your 2-year. But then the big one that we benchmark our entire debt market on is on that 10-year. And so Trump and Bissett had done their job, and they brought that sucker down to 3.8 by freaking out everybody and crashing the market. And now they're still asking Jerome Powell and the Fed to cut rates further. And I believe the reason is because they know that if China and these other countries sell off their bonds, that's going to cause that yield to go back up. And that's what we're seeing today on the 10-year, is that 10-year yield's going back up because China's selling it and other countries are being forced to sell it too. Now, China also restricting exports of 7 rare earth metals to all countries. See, this is why I go spend time up there in Vancouver, although most of my content's focused on crypto, and I think that that's going to provide the best returns. I stack my precious metals and I go hang out with the gold bugs and the silver bugs and the natural resource guys and gals up in Vancouver every year, because this is the exact conversations that we've been talking about up there, is this war over the strategic resources, the critical minerals. And China is now holding the cards here, or at least holding their cards and not sharing them, right? They're holding on to these 7 rare earth minerals, and they're not going to be sharing them with anybody, not the U.S. and not anybody. Now, as this happens, this can cause actually the price on these assets to spike. And we've already seen that on gold. They've been fighting to the end to keep silver under $35, but that sucker's getting ready to blow. And if this does continue and pick up from here, this is where I think we could start to see those commodities really, shoot up to the upside here as kind of the squeeze gets put on them for strategic, critical resources, strategically getting stockpiled and no longer being shared by countries like China. So we'll continue to watch that. So once again, there's a couple levers here that China does have, a couple ways that they can attack our vulnerabilities. And this is why Trump was trying to get the rare earth mineral deal done in Ukraine. Although we do have great minerals and resources here in the United States, especially in Canada and Mexico too, that North American Union, there's great deals to be done there. As long as we get the regulators out of the way and allow us to actually get at these resources, we have a lot ourselves. But Trump, this is absolutely critical, and why he was trying to negotiate for it in Ukraine. China, seeing what's happening right now, and they're going to hold it. They're going to hold their rare earth minerals right now. They've kept on allowing their citizens to buy record amounts of gold. You've seen that too. And what I'm interested to see is if they flip-flop on crypto here in the next 12 months, that would be another bullish catalyst for our crypto markets as well. Right? They keep on flip-flopping back and forth between letting their citizens invest in crypto. We don't let them. We ban it. We ban the mining. And then are they going to flip back here? We're already seeing from hedge fund managers and ETF issuers in Hong Kong, and they're suggesting that mainland China is getting ready to basically flip the switch on crypto once again. And the thing is we've said you have to be able to get away from U.S. dollar dominance and the abuse that some countries have had to withstand from our reserve currency status and the way that we've kind of abused that privilege. And the only way that you can do so is through having your own resources, having your own self-sustaining economy. And then the other big wild card is cryptocurrency technology. If you embrace it, if you lean into it, if you modernize your markets, if you modernize other aspects of your supply chain and basically every aspect of life that can be updated through DLT technology, AI, and that's the other competitive advantage to get away or to at least protect yourself, right? And we've talked about how these countries can tokenize these minerals, these resources, and allow themselves to show up to the table with a little bit better of a deal to present. And so we're going to watch this and keep this update going, but it seems to me that most countries are coming to the table. China appears to be standing the strongest out of everybody, and they do have a couple levers that they can pull that are going to inflict some pain on us. And so we'll keep you guys updated on that matter, but that is the trade war update for today. Now let's get into crypto, okay? And I do want to take some Q&A. I just have a few points to talk about here with crypto, and then I am going to transition into a Q&A and take some of your guys' comments and questions, okay? Okay. Oh no, we're getting to XRP news. See, this is where people get left behind and don't have real analysis. They don't have a program that works, is because they don't understand all this stuff that's taking place. So this is why they get left behind. Everybody just wants XRP clickbait hopium. And I'll give you a little bit of that, but you're going to have to earn it. You're going to have to stick around for the full analysis. And it's to your own success. And to leave out that current events in the broader financial markets would be to your own detriment, not to understand it. No, we're going to get to XRP right here, guys. Okay? Don't worry. Let's take a sip of our coffee here. Here we go. Okay. Ron Hammond, full summary. This week in Congress and crypto. While everyone is talking tariffs, don't worry, there's plenty of crypto action this week to break up the news cycle. This week, we have the first crypto bill being signed by a U.S. president, and the House kicks off the next bill, market structure. See, and this is why, when you take a step back, why we can remain so bullish, as we understand the legislation is on the way and the institutions are getting ready to sell it. There's no reason to go anywhere in crypto right now, unless you're in memes, unless you're in silly stuff, then, you gamble at your own risk. But as long as you're still stacking fundamental utility, you're just fine. Everything's lining up here perfectly. After spending the first few weeks of committee work on stablecoin legislation, the work now shifts to the other crypto legislative efforts of market structure. Last Congress, that bill was called FIT 21. So far, all that is known is that this year's version will be different. The House is going first this time with both the Financial Committee and House AG, and they're going to be having hearings on Wednesday for market structure. Some familiar crypto legal experts will be testifying. Like last Congress, major push for both committees to move in tandem. Like the stablecoin hearings, the House especially has had several years of hearings before on this topic. Therefore, like stablecoins, we expect the new legislative text to be released in the coming weeks or months and then pushed to a vote in the coming months in committee. Now, this would be market structure, right? So stablecoin, we're getting closer. Market structure, they're getting the process started. As the market structure effort gets underway, there are other bills further ahead. The House's Stable Act and Senate's Genius Act will likely get a vote in their respective chambers in the coming weeks. While both bills are similar, they will need to be combined eventually. Once those two stablecoin bills are combined, they will again need another vote in the House Senate before going to the president's desk. So this process will be a few weeks till it is fully clear the provisions in a final Stable Genius bill, minus any amendments added, will be, put forward. This week, we should see President Trump sign Senator Ted Cruz and Mike Kerry's CRA bill, which repeals the IRS broker rule. It sits at the Trump desk with over 2/3 of Congress in support. Unclear which date the signing date is, but it will be the first crypto bill signed by a president. So, not only do we have, President Trump attending crypto conferences, we have President Trump launching meme coins. How can you not be bullish right now? You got the president here with his first crypto bill that's going to be showing up on his desk. He's already been signing executive orders, but this will be the first bill drafted by Congress. And this is what we need. Guys, I don't want to get started on it, but this is where I already can tell, I know you guys are frustrated. I'm frustrated too with how slow Congress is moving. Stablecoin bill already should have been passed. It's a matter of national security. We're way late, way behind, and we need to get it passed ASAP because you have countries like China and others that are going to be dumping our treasuries at a record pace. They already have been, but they're going to continue and ramp that up. Stablecoin legislation would help us fill that void, and we need to do it quickly or we're going to be in big trouble. And then the market structure bill, we are glad to see that the process is getting started, but Congress overall is just moving way too slow. It's way, way too slow, and we got to pick it up. The large bipartisan support for crypto is starting to show some cracks, though. As crypto continues to be a top-tier priority for Congress, the elevation to the main stage brings a lot more political wins. So you do have some people. I saw Elizabeth Warren put out a letter last week asking, about, I forget what she was complaining about, but something to do with crypto. Elizabeth Warren finding something else to complain about. And she's part of the reason why, this has taken so long and why we're getting attacked for everything that we try to do. This is a growing theme as it gives those looking for ways to attack the administration an angle to do so. On the other hand, the administration's prioritization of crypto has helped the multitude of agencies, committees, and stakeholders coordinate better than ever before. This is the bad-good trade-offs that happen in politics because it is near impossible for any policy priority from either party to reach the main stage of politics and not become a tad partisan in some way. Regardless of the policy substance, it still nets positive in the end. And I'm just going to cut it off there. This is where it gets ridiculous because if anything should be bipartisan, it should be sound money. And what we're talking about here is sound money in digital form. It's so straightforward. It's so simple. And yet, what are we up against right now? We're up against bankster shill politicians that are trying to make it so that we can't earn yield on our stablecoins. That's what we're up against. So now that they've accepted that we need to have stablecoins, and stablecoins are a matter of national security, now we want to make sure that the peasants can't earn a yield. And us peasants need to keep our money with the banks and the institutions in Wall Street. Keep your money with the banks. Keep your 401k with your suits with Wall Street. And don't say a damn thing, right? Don't question. Don't even worry about where your 401k is. That's half of America that doesn't know where their 401k is. Don't question it. Don't question whether or not, these banks are solvent. And how dare you, little peasants, think that you should be able to earn a measly 4% on your stablecoin or whatever they're going to pay out, right? As I like to say, at your 4%, you're still pissing in the wind. So you're not really accomplishing much, but keeping up with inflation barely. So, I guess even that's too much. We can't let the peasants keep up with inflation. No. You don't get to earn yield on your stablecoin. What are you thinking? That's what we're up against. That's how ridiculous this is. But the good news is that common sense is prevailing, in urgency to, keep the U.S. dollar reserve currency status, and an understanding that will be done through stablecoins is starting to ripple through our Congress, and hopefully that will lead to stablecoin legislation getting passed in the next month or so, and then that market structure, hopefully by August, is when President Trump is asking it gets delivered to his desk. Now, XRP futures update. And this is actually a 2 times long daily XRP ETF from Tariffs. That's an interesting name. New York Stock Exchange ARCA approves the listing and registration of Tariffs 2 times long daily XRP ETF. Now, thank God it wasn't a short ETF. We don't need anybody else going short XRP. We don't need anybody else selling XRP or going short XRP. I was telling the guys from First Ledger, they're getting ready to make a new wallet. And I was telling them, if they allow us to sell XRP from their wallet, I'm going to be disappointed. I told them, I want you guys to remove the sell button from your wallet. It shouldn't even be an option. You can buy XRP, you can move XRP, but you can't sell it. I was telling Chris from First Ledger that was my demand of them for their new wallet. Obviously joking, but no, this is good. And this is all the lead up to the ETFs, the spot ETFs going live. And, we already saw Coinbase is looking to launch their derivatives futures for XRP on April 21st. You have other ETFs getting ready to go live. And really, they want to see the futures markets go live and get established before they roll out the spot ETFs. And so just another step in the right direction. But we have our next ETF for XRP going live tomorrow, 2 times long daily XRP ETF. And I think it might be a good time to launch that ETF because it might be a good time to go long XRP as XRP bottoming out here and getting ready to bounce back up. Looking like it's blasting off towards a new all-time high here shortly. Looks like the XRP Ledger DEX volume is also spiking. Vet shared this earlier today. Huge shout out to Vet, one of our XRP Ledger default UNL validators, one of our validators on the XRP Ledger. Vet, God bless him, good guy. 13 million XRP, which while XRP is trading just below $2, that's still going to be over $20 million worth of volume on the XRP Ledger DEX in the past 24 hours, which is nothing compared to where this is going. I love to see it, though. I love to see the progress, right? See, we were getting nothing. We weren't even getting $1 million worth of volume on the XRP Ledger DEX just 1 year ago. Nobody was using our DEX. Our chain was a dinosaur chain. Nobody was doing anything with it. I mean, we were just starting to get the AMM a little over a year ago. We got the AMM. So the activity was starting. But really, this picked up at the end of October and in November when First Ledger went live and they created that token factory, which I do find funny that the memes are what really started this activity. But now this is leading to over 20 million of volume. I mean, this is incredible growth in DEX volume for XRP. And the reason why this gets me so excited is because this is just the testing ground. This is the little sand pit. We got a little playground set up, but we're about to go to the big playground. Okay, we're about to go to the big one. And that's where we start to see billions of dollars of volume on our DEX on a daily basis. Not $20 million worth, not a couple $100 million worth, but billions of dollars worth of volume on our DEX. And the potential for XRP to actually have volume much, much higher than that. Tens of billions and hundreds of billions on a daily basis. That's where this is going. And so despite the market in turmoil, to see this XRP Ledger DEX activity is so great to see because it means that more people are still coming in. New wallets are being created. More XRPs being locked up. More tokens are being created. All of that's locking up more XRP and burning more XRP. You start to add all this stuff up. Yeah, the memes might not be your thing. You might think it's silly. I call the memes tokenized stupidity. Take a look around. There's a lot of stupidity. You might as well tokenize it on the XRP ledger. Might as well lock up more XRP. Might as well burn more XRP. And this is all the testing ground for when the real world assets from the institutions get tokenized on this ledger and we start to see significant volumes. And we're already seeing that with RLUSD. Ripple stablecoin is setting the standard, laying out the blueprint for other institutions to follow. And as these products get brought in here, folks are going to want to create AMM liquidity pools for them. Folks are going to use the XRP Ledger DEX to trade between them. And we actually go into a new era here. It's already really started with the ability to on-ramp and off-ramp through the Zaman wallet and other integrations that are on the way. You're not even going to have to leave the XRP Ledger DEX for the most part, right? You're going to be able to cash out, per se, using the XRP Ledger DEX going from XRP to RLUSD. I mean, you can already do that. If you want to send money to your bank account, that's the one step where we take it back off chain, but that's literally sending the money back off chain. If you want to, basically take profits on XRP on the XRP Ledger DEX, you can. And that's one of the things that I'm preparing for this bull run. And yes, I do still think that we're in a bull run. I don't think that it is over, but I've talked about how I'm using 3 different platforms: Coinbase, Uphold, Caleb, and Brown. And those are linked up down below. And then the other thing is I'm leaving my option open is just being able to use the DEX. If I struggle to find liquidity on those platforms, I can just go to the DEX myself and set that order. XRP to RLUSD when XRP goes to $589. And we'll be able to place that order on the DEX, cash that order out, and we won't have to pay a middleman a thing. We'll have a small transaction fee paid to the XRP ledger. That's XRP burned. Remember, with all of these RLUSD transactions, it's burning more XRP. And so, to me, you got to focus on the ETFs going live, the DEX volume spiking, all these fundamentals, legislations right around the corner. What's the price doing? What's my portfolio at? Oh, my net worth went down a little bit today. And I don't even look. Why would I look? I don't need to look. I don't need to look. The only thing I focused on really over the past few years is how much XRP am I stacking? When you stack your first 1,000, you stack your first 10,000, and eventually, I know some of you guys, and I love the messages that I'm getting, by the way. I wanted to note this for everybody. The messages that I'm getting of people that are picking up tens of thousands of XRP over the past few days. And they said, Zach, thank you for your calmness. Thank you for keeping us locked in here. Thanks for, getting us tapped in on placing these limit orders, remaining patient. My order went through in the middle of the night, and I was able to pick up a huge bag of XRP. Thank you. And that's why we do what we do. Right? We've been very clear that we're not completely out of the storm, that we didn't still have exposure to an event like this. We were actually very vocal, and we were pounding the table back in the beginning of March about coming back down to these levels. And what's funny is some of the levels that I had set for targets back on March 9th. I shared with my Discord group. Hey guys, here's all these. I went over like 10 different cryptos. Here's levels of support. Let's go see if we go hit them. Now, we already got close and we did hit some of those targets. That was back in the middle of March. But then fast forward to here over the past couple days, we actually went down and we finally did hit all of those targets. And on some of them, we even broke lower. Which is why I always say we ladder into positions and we ladder out, right? If you want to buy XRP at $1.70, and this is a great example. You think, okay, XRP is going to go back down to $1.70. Do we place our order, just one order at $1.70? No, we place orders at $1.75, stagger down to $1.69, right? And that way we're hitting it a few times. That way we never have to try to perfectly time the bottom. We just get relatively close. And then we sit back and relax. And just like the reports are coming in, people are messaging me, your guys' buy orders to accumulate tens of thousands of XRP are executing while you're sleeping like a little baby. And that is the goal. That is the mission, is to get folks into that position where you're either like myself, sleeping like a baby because we've stacked cash and we stacked XRP. And we're still very bullish from a fundamental perspective. We can go to sleep soundly. Or you're still in accumulation mode. And so you set your orders, you're picking up your bags, and we just sit back and enjoy the show. But I love to hear the feedback from you guys. I love to see everybody accumulating more of these cryptos, not just XRP, but other good utility cryptocurrencies. That's why we stay in the game, and that's why you don't see me leave. When it's good, when it's bad, when I get things right, when I get things wrong. That only happens once in a while, not too often, but I am willing to admit when I'm wrong. And, that's okay. Now, final data point before we go into Q&A. This is a little bit of TA here from HOV Waves. XRP is at a critical Elliott wave juncture. Here's why it matters. In our last update, we were following up with the white count that could take us down into the sub 158 level. Now it's sitting right on the edge of a breakdown, but maybe not. As long as we hold that $1.89 low, we could possibly be in a triangle green. I wouldn't call it a high probability though. If when we get the break of that low, I believe we will see a swift move into our $1.58, $1.35-ish confluence level. That would be the fifth of C, and he's talking about the C wave correction, Elliott waves, okay? It's just I'm just going to keep it basic. I'm not going to explain the TA here. We're just going to keep it simple for everybody to understand. We're in a corrective structure, Elliott waves, fifth wave within the C wave, okay? I know it might sound like another language to you. That's okay. Just trust the process. And what this means, what the summary is that our correction's nearly over, right? Obviously, I track a few different counts, but try not to overcomplicate it for you guys. When things change, I try my best to update it for you. Now, this post was put out 4 days ago on April 3rd, and he was warning, hey, guys, if we break that $1.89, watch out for that move to $1.60. Now, what's interesting is that on his chart, he still has us breaking up to a new all-time high after we finish this move. Now, I matched this up with, what's the other guy's name? The trader out of Korea that I've shared his works. X-Force Global, I think is his name. He's a trader focusing on Elliott Wave as well out of Korea, and he noted the same thing, is that it's actually more bullish. I mean, that was the title of my video this morning. XRP even more bullish. I took that from him because this analysis is showing us we're finishing up the corrective wave here, and right after this is done, and in fact, X-Force Global laid out the case why it's even more bullish that XRP went down to $1.60 and completed that correction before we pop off again and shoot up here to a new all-time high. And he says that actually leads to us going to an all-time high faster versus if we hadn't have gone down and basically washed this out, completed this corrective wave, otherwise we would have just kind of been chopping sideways there. So they're suggesting that this pullback correction is showing us that the correction is finalizing and that it's even more bullish of a setup. And whether it's more bullish or not as bullish, the point that I'm taking away from, once again, I'm not the TA guru. I watch a few of these other guys out here and I kind of combine it with my analysis. And I take what I like. Sometimes I don't agree with everything, and that's not the point. The point is to pull what we get, put it together with my analysis, and come up with my own predictions. And the key point that I've taken away from some respected voices in the community is that the bullish structure is still intact. The bullish structure for XRP is still intact. It did not get ruined by going down to $1.70. It did not get ruined by going down to $1.60. I'm going to show you guys the XRP chart, and then we're going to open it up for Q&A right now. XRP today all the way down to 161. But popping back up, and that's why I titled it XRP bounces from market crashes, because XRP already popped back up to $2. Now, who sold at $2? I mean, what are you doing? Now it comes back down here to $1.91 right now. We might finish this day green. Right? We have a couple hours till the daily candle closes for crypto markets. We actually might end up closing the day green, which is what we did on the stock market, funny enough. All the major indexes finished the day green in the stock market. And it's looking like crypto might do the same thing with Bitcoin. Right now on the daily, Bitcoin's green at 79,000. It did break above 80 briefly this morning. Thank you for the gifts there on TikTok. Thank you for the love and the support. If you guys haven't already, please make sure you like this video. Help us out by sharing it out far and wide. And at this point, I would invite you to drop your comments and questions down below. I'm going to catch up on super chats, and then we'll go rapid fire. Dennis, thank you. Bought AXL. That's Axler or Exceller. Axler. I always try to mispronounce that one on purpose just to trigger people. Nice. No, that's good. That's good. Yep. That's a good pickup. Yep. Can XRP be replaced by RLUSD? Buxom Blonde? No, it cannot. It's complementary. It's supplementary. What it does is it brings liquidity to the XRP ledger that otherwise wouldn't be on the XRP ledger. So no, RLUSD will not replace XRP. It is supplementary to XRP and the XRP ledger. Yeah. Beachhead, thank you for the 5 spot. What is the utility of XRP now that RLUSD is part of the Ripple payments? It's, once again, for cross-border payments, for corridors where you're going out of the dollar. If people want to stay within the dollar for domestic payments within the United States, that's where RLUSD will be used. But not everybody wants to use or receive RLUSD. This is where XRP comes in as the bridge currency between other assets on the XRP ledger and other currencies on the XRP ledger. So when we get these other tokenized currencies like the Brazilian real, you saw that Ripple's partner down there in Brazil, they announced that they were going to be issuing a Brazilian real stablecoin on the XRP ledger. So this is where XRP comes in, is when you're trading between RLUSD and that Brazilian real, between RLUSD and the Japanese yen, and all the other currencies that are going to come to the ledger, all the other assets that are going to come to the ledger. This is real world assets like precious metals, real estate, bonds, stocks. This is where XRP will still be used. RLUSD will only be used for those that want to accept RLUSD and for domestic payments within the US. Everything else, and by the way, you still are burning and using XRP for every RLUSD transaction. So that's the utility for XRP. Okay. All right. And we got Silverado Man. Thank you for the 5 spot. One of my customers I found out works for Ripple. I asked about XRP. He was very bearish and said $5 to $10 is very unlikely anytime soon. Scared me. Yeah, I mean, I'd be curious to see who that is. There's a lot of like lower level people at Ripple that do not have, they're not tapped in with the C-suite. They don't know about all the partnerships and everything that's actually happening at Ripple. This is nearly 1,000-person organization. So we've seen our fair share of employees that have left, and they've, a lot of them are under NDA, so they can't even really speak out. But, some of them have, voiced some frustration. But for the most part, you'll see former Ripple employees have nothing but high regards for Ripple, the current executives, and what they've been doing for XRP. So yeah, I mean, I don't know, Silverado. I mean, if you told me who that was, I'd be curious to see who they are, what they did for Ripple. You got a lot of guys that are there to fill a specific role at Ripple, right? And like I said, they're just not privy to everything that's taking place. Like literally, some of us know more about what's happening with Ripple and XRP than some of the employees at Ripple. I know that sounds kind of crazy, but it's because they're in a certain role and they just stay locked in on that role. Okay. He's an engineer. There you go. It basically, yeah. I mean, you get guys, if they're an engineer, they're only in the engineering department. They are nowhere near the business deals. So that doesn't surprise me that it's an engineer. Yeah. I appreciate that though. Yeah, but I really wouldn't put too much weight on that. I wouldn't. I mean, unless they have, what was their reasoning? Right? I don't know, Silverado, tell us, what was the reasoning why? Because everybody wants to say XRP is not going to do this, not going to do that. You suck. That's okay, but what's your analysis? That's okay, but show me your TA. That's okay, but show me the fundamentals. Now I would agree that because of the market psychology, the technicals and the fundamentals tell me that we will struggle to break $10 when we do go into price discovery. But yeah, I would say it sounds like an employee that's just not privy to everything that's really taking place. And you got a lot of engineers that are going to come and go from Ripple. Just because somebody works for Ripple doesn't mean that they know everything that's happening at Ripple, within the new financial system, any of that. Right. So there's a lot. I mean, I've followed some employees from Ripple who were absolutely nuts. Like I've followed some, and then they leave. Like some of them, I feel like most of them kind of don't get too political while they're working at Ripple. But I've followed some. You know, they'll say, "Oh, in their bio it says such and such at Ripple," and I follow along, and I'm kind of watching their posts, and they're doing this and that, and then they leave Ripple, and then they turn into like this crazy whack job liberal. I'm like, holy cow, man. No wonder they let you go. No wonder they let you set sail. So yeah, I've seen some of that too. You know, they're a huge organization. And I've talked about this in the past. You have liberals working there, you have conservatives working there, you got Americans, you got international folks, you got people from all over. It's a big organization. So yeah. Okay. DRM, thank you for that. Canadian, $13.99. I appreciate that. Thank you. Good day, Mr. ZR. My zone of reference is being 61 today and would appreciate appreciation sooner than later. Thanks for your videos. Well, 61 is, 60 is the new 50, right? I would say, you still are going to be kicking for a long time, my friend. So keep on showing up. Keep doing the good deal here by stacking this utility up. I think that we're going to see price appreciation very soon. And for some of you guys that are 60 plus, 70 plus, I totally understand why some of you guys are planning on taking profits on some XRP along the way. Whether you just want to finalize your retirement, round off your retirement, be able to take the family on, be able to live it up, for the last couple decades of your life. But 61, I mean, shoot, you're still a youngin' at 61. I know it sounds crazy coming from me, but I mean, 61 now ain't what it used to be, that's for sure. So keep on kicking. I mean, the fact that you're here, and this is actually what Ripple found in that most recent poll that they conducted, there's more people over the age of 55 that hold crypto than people under 25. So shout out to the boomers. The boomers are stacking more crypto than Gen babies or whatever the new generation is, right? Shout out to the boomers for stacking it up. And I've been trying to save the boomer bags. Been trying to say, hey, this stock market's overvalued. Watch out for this stock market correcting. Let's save those bags. So we're trying to help them out as much as possible. Peter Coughlin, thank you for the 2 spot. Appreciate it. Sai, thank you for the 5 spot. AMM on the Ripple Ledger XRP DAG. Hasn't happened yet. Would love to create it. Yeah, so by the way, the CEO of Constellation Network, Ben Jorgensen, I just had him on last week. Highly recommend you check out that video along with my deep dive on DAG. I'm very bullish. And that project actually on their charts holding up really well. I've been actually very impressed with that. But his Twitter account got hacked over the weekend. And the hackers launched a token on Solana, trying to make a fake DAG token on Solana. So that's a scam. Watch out for that. I did see that Ben did get his account back, but please be safe out there. And then as far as DAG on the XRP ledger, I've actually seen that there is some people that are looking to do, they're looking to approach that. Some folks that were talking about doing a metagraph, basically like an XRP metagraph on DAG. And after I spoke with Ben and researched this project, I think it's a great idea for us to use the DAG network or HBAR, one of these other blockchains that can handle data a little bit better for us. And maybe there's better chains as well too. I just had been researching these recently, and it looks like there's some advantages that could be had by using DAG's metagraph technology. But I think it's a great interoperability play for us to store data on DAG, but then also for DAG to be represented on the XRP ledger. The thing is we need a legitimate issuer. That's the problem with a lot of this is if Joe Blow Schmo issues DAG on the XRP ledger, what's it backed by? What does it mean? Right? So that's the big thing. You need, like Constellation Network could come over to the XRP ledger and say, hey, we're going to back a DAG token on the XRP ledger with real DAG. locked up over here, and maybe they could create a bridge back and forth. This would be a great thing for Axelar to do as well. Connect us with the DAG blockchain, or Constellation, I should say. So yeah, I'm a big fan of that. That'd be good. That'd be good. DAG should tap in over here because we can handle liquidity better than they can. We have way more liquidity over here on our network versus theirs. And so that's a perfect match. And I talked about that with Ben. He had nothing but praises to sing on XRP ecosystem and Ripple. He had nothing but good things to say. Tyrell, thank you for the 2-spot. Ripple worker mentioned market cap as his reasons. Well, so yeah, that's the problem. That's a, stick to the code, pal. Stick to the engineering. You know, everybody has their own lane, right? And so somebody who's citing market cap as to why XRP can't go to $5 or $10 has no idea what they're talking about. And I can say that emphatically because we've broken it down with the market cap multiplier, and we've exposed the XRP market cap myth. So I would send that person my XRP market cap myth exposed video, the whiteboard video that I did a couple months ago, where we lay it out perfectly. We make it simple and easy for everybody to understand, and let's get him caught up to speed. Yep. Beachhead, thank you for the 5-spot. Thank you for the clarification. Sip of Buffalo Trace for the strong hand of XRP. Hey, it's one of those days where you might have to put a little something in that coffee cup. What do you guys say? I didn't. I'm still on coffee for now. I might have an adult bevy with the trench warfare degens, though. We might have a couple. We might have some fun tonight with the degens. The degens have given me a laugh throughout all of this, you know, the ups, the downs. The degens just show up, and they always bring a good time. Yep. Silverado Man, thank you for the 5-spot. He mentioned the whole market cap would make it tough, but I don't think he was big into crypto based on the conversation, which surprised me. And honestly, that's fine too, right? It's no hate. It's just you have you know, a lot of guys like this. They're busy in the coding, they're busy in that world, and they're not in this world like we are. They don't live and breathe these markets every single day. And most people, I mean, you can't blame an engineer when even the TradeFi guys can't wrap their mind around this market cap multiplier, right? I mean, you can't blame this guy for not understanding what the biggest institutions are still trying to wrap their minds around too. And this is why we just try to help everybody out. We reach out our hand, try to lift people up, bring them on board with us and break it down. And we're doing so now with hard data. That was the missing link that I was looking for, was the market cap multiplier equation. Once I started to watch the order books after November, when XRP started to move, we started to really watch the XRP market cap, the order books and the inflows and the outflows. And that's where the market cap multiplier, we could actually start to quantify it and make sense of it. So yeah, absolutely. That's good. Yep. Like I said, just send them my video. We'll get them caught up to speed. And that'd be great. RSR Zach, don't tell anyone. Altman Thiel, yeah, I know about the reserve rights. Should I take a look at it? I appreciate that, Immortal. Thank you. Dennis says, I'm 66, just married a 35-year-old fine Thai lady. Ooh-wee. Ooh-wee, boy. Wow. Just got a little hot in here, Dennis. Shoot. Dennis. I'm holding back my comments. Good thing this isn't a late night session. I haven't had a couple adult bevies. We can keep it mature. Round of applause, XRP family. And I'm telling you guys too, we need to make more babies too. We need more babies in the XRP family as well, okay? So you're gonna get some wife changing money, and you're gonna get some baby making money too, okay? So we gotta get on it, okay? XRP family, we need more babies up in here, okay? I need back surgery, but no whining. I'm gonna be here to spend my fortune again. No whining, Dennis. You got this, brother. You got this. Thank you for always showing support. Thank you for always showing love. I like how Dennis, he'll give me super chats in USD. He'll also give me super chats in Thai. I think he might have even given me in another currency too. So that's good. But you know the rules, Dennis. We only tell him about half the bag, right? Right? We only tell him about the first half of XRP bag that we got. You tell him about the one bag, but not the other bag, right? Just in case. Just in case. That's a joke, of course. That's a joke. Always be honest. Okay, thank you guys. We're through the super chats. I want to go rapid fire. Hey, Zach, I love the channel. I bought a little bit more during the dip. Great meeting you at Costco the other day. Silas, it's so good to see you in the chat here, man. It was so good to meet you. I've only had a few people come up to me in my local area who recognize me. It's only happened a couple times, so that was kind of funny. Yeah, I was shopping at Costco this weekend, and we had one of the community members here, Silas, came up, and hopefully I'm pronouncing your name right too, my good friend there. Thank you. Appreciate you. I was in the meat section, and we were looking over some of the deals. There. Okay. Let me catch up here. Let's go rapid fire with it. Okay. Dennis, that's too funny. You're funny. Second act, thank you for the $30.99. That's a big one. Watching from Australia, just learned about crypto in my 50s. Thanks to my teacher, Zach. That's what it's about. And that's why it hit home to me yesterday when Stuart Alderati was sharing that poll that they just conducted with their new crypto association, when he said that the amount of exposure that basically, the diversity in crypto holders. Right? You got a lot of women, you got seniors holding more crypto than young kids. You got construction workers holding just as much crypto as anybody else. As someone who comes from nothing, besides a hand-me-down pickup truck and a blue-collar background, I mean, this is what I love about this game right now. I love that we have access to an asset class before the institutions have gotten their ducks in a row and they're ready to sell. We don't need the suits to sell it to us. And that's never been a reality before for the construction worker, for the single mom, for the senior citizen on a fixed income. And this is why I wake up every day just thrilled to get to work. And I'm not BSing you. I mean, every single day is because I know the impact that we're having. We've helped kids all the way in their teens. We got people bringing in, hey, I got a nephew. Can we get my nephew in the Discord group? He's 16 years old, learning about investing. Yes, bring him on in. You know what I'm saying? And then we got folks 70 plus years old that are stacking crypto, trading crypto in the game. And that's why we do this. Have I the meat section is the worst to bump into someone. It's chaos. Yeah. I knew what I was looking for. And then I was kind of just browsing, waiting around for wifey to catch back up to me. And, yeah, there's some good. They got the organic ground beef. That's some good stuff. All their steaks and stuff. I'm going to need XRP to pop off a little bit more before I pick up my steaks from Costco. The big problem is that I'm really the only meat eater in my house. My son, he's starting to get into the game a little bit, but my daughter, eats a little bit here and there. And then, of course, my wife will eat some with me too. But I'm the real one that's pushing for us to, have a steak dinner or stuff like that. So the big Costco packs, I mean, it's like $70 for a few steaks. And it's like, I can't even, get us to eat one of those steaks together as a family, let alone a few of them. But yeah. There you go. 62 packing and stacking. That's what we do. I forget that, it's funny that you mentioned that. There was something else that they did yesterday, or that I noticed that Costco did. They made something else bigger. I forget what it was. That's where Costco gets you, is they don't sell those smaller amounts. And I forget what it was, but it was an item that they'd made even bigger size. I forget what it was. Silas works in the wine section. Ooh, that's a good some good wine there. Good wine. I picked up a good bottle of bourbon there. What was that? Right around the holidays right there for my good friend Jimmy Valley. Yeah. Costco's got some good stuff there. Zach, I need you to talk to my nephew. He's 23, works hard on tugboats, makes a nice salary. Trying to get him in. He's not listening to his old uncle. Send him on over. Yep. 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 Yeah, so I will get Waters Above on. Yep, I will email Waters Above right after we get off this. He's actually on my list. Respect from New Zealand. Hey, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, thankfully, one of my high school buddies, he actually started a little farm. He brought me some eggs, and he brought me actually chicken eggs and duck eggs. That's actually what I just had for lunch a little bit ago. Wifey got some hash browns. So I cooked up a few hash browns, 3 fried eggs right on the top. That's how we do it. Although he gave me a teaser, my buddy. He said, hey, here you go. He dropped some off for free. And then he said, now for the next one, you got to pay me. But that's okay. That's what I'm glad to pay. I'd rather pay him. Get that quality. Have I ever been to Scotland? Nope. I do want to go to the castle, though. My mentor, Dan Pena, I do want to go to the castle seminar. It's about $30,000 though. It's kind of crazy. But I do feel like I owe it to Dan to go there. And he lives in Scotland, of course. He lives in Angus County, Scotland. I've never been to Scotland. And I do want to go to Europe. Me and wifey, we're watching the show White Lotus, and we're finishing up season 2. It's taken us about 5 nights to complete the 7th and last episode of season 2, which is typically how it goes. Either I fall asleep or she falls asleep. And so we're on like night 5 of trying to finish this second season off. But the second season of White Lotus is in Italy, right? And boy, do they make it look pretty. But from what I'm seeing on X and on the news, it looks like, there's, areas to go to and some rough situations over there too. I hope that we can clean it up a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Because I think that there's a lot of beauty there. A lot of beauty. I want to see those classic, the old classic, streets and buildings. But then those churches are epic. So I really do want to go to Europe. I'd love to take the family there eventually. That's going to be, not for some time though. If I do go to Scotland for anything soon, it would be for the castle seminar with Dan. Yeah, duck eggs. Those are good ones. Yep, those are nice. A little bit bigger. Good for baking too. I used to raise ducks. I used to have chickens, ducks, and geese. Yep. Back in the day. But yeah, Italy's nice. I was watching the show with wife and I was saying, man, this show is making me want to go to Italy. But the whole show is shot from, I think, Sicily or some beach town from the resort, and it looks really nice. But yeah. Any word from the Bearable Bull? I've been asking, a lot of people have been asking about the bull. I don't know where he's at. Probably just taking mental health break. Or I don't even know if it's that. It might just be he's on to, doing some different stuff. I saw that he had, made like a final XRP video, made his exits. I did get interviewed by the bull one time, and I enjoyed that time with him. That was a good conversation, and I'd love to reconnect with him again. But yeah, I don't know where he's at. Yeah. Are the goose eggs good? I didn't have the goose eggs. I didn't. No. Zach, what are your thoughts on White Rock and the XRP ledger? I just am not looking to get yield on my XRP. I'm looking to get price appreciation on my XRP right now. And once we get the price appreciation, then XRP will be a little bit more stabilized. Then I'll feel more comfortable and I'll want to be looking to get a yield on my XRP. But for right now, why would I be interested in getting a 5%, a 10% on my XRP when I'm expecting the sucker to 10x again over the next year? I don't need 5% on my XRP. Now, if I have a portion of my portfolio that I want to just spit out steady returns, I don't need to give people my XRP. I could just, put my money into a treasury. I could just put it into T-bills and make 4%. So nobody's getting my XRP anytime soon, like at all. Nobody's getting my XRP. And nobody's going to get my XRP until we see regulations established for DeFi. I want to see the market structure bill. And then I also need to see XRP price stabilize, right? So that's where I'm at with XRP and XRP yield and DeFi. But right now I'm looking at all these platforms and the ways that they're generating yield, the promises that they're making. And I haven't seen anything that makes me want to jump. It's just, like I said, I don't, Doppler Finance paying out 4%. Just like I said, 4% on your treasuries is pissing in the wind. 4% on your XRP from Doppler Finance is the same thing. Excuse my French, but I just like to get my point across. You know what I'm saying? I don't need 4% on my XRP. Zach, what's the balance metals to crypto to money in market to cash? Why? Are you B Hodlin XRP? Are you talking about me or are you talking about others? So I don't have any money market funds. I don't have any treasuries. I don't have any bonds. None at all. I have cash in the bank. A little bit of cash and metals at home, and then crypto. And then, I just, I like to invest in my business. So I got a couple deals we're working on right now for new merch. And that's kind of just reinvesting back in my business. I know the returns I'll get on that. And then I just, I've been talking about stacking cash for over a year now. And, it's not like I've stacked away $1 million, but I just keep a little bit on hand, and I have a few different bank accounts, and that gives me options and security. But yeah, for me, I don't have any T-bills. I don't have any stocks. 4% on my XRP while they day trade XRP futures. How is that even scalable? And that's the problem. XRP bag hodler. It's a great point that you make right there, right? I'm interested to see how everybody performed with this last weekend. I would love to see what returns Doppler Finance spits out, if any, for this last week. How did the quant traders do this weekend? Because this is when it matters. There's countless stories of big hedge funds, money managers who have really great strategies, and they knock it out of the park, and they win, and they win, and they win, and they win. And then they get one trade wrong. They get caught offsides one time, and it kills them. metaphorically speaking, right? And so that's why you got to be careful here. You know, the quant strategies and this strategy, it all worked well when participation trophies were being handed out in our economy and in our markets, but that's not the case anymore. We're no longer in a participation trophy economy. So, I mean, you could have the best strategy in the world, but are you going to be able to produce consistent returns? And are you going to be hedged to the downside when we get market events like this? That's the real test. In fact, maybe I should make a note to go through that and make a video on that this week, is conduct our due diligence and provide videos on White Rock, on now what they're doing is cool. They're tokenizing precious metals, synthetic precious metals. That's a key point. I'm not interested in synthetic metals. Synthetic metals is of no interest to me at all. But to some, okay. Tokenized stocks, that's great. They're tokenizing Apple and a couple other of the main tech stocks. Those got killed this weekend. So, like I said, I'm interested to see how they performed over the weekend. So, some of these initiatives are good. I appreciate the effort. And I've been telling the Discord group this for a couple years now. Guys, especially over the last year, as the talks of DeFi on the XRP ledger started to come about, now it's really starting to pick up. But I've just been saying, guys, sit back and let these guys come to you. You get to sit at the table and you got the gold, which is XRP. And everybody else is going to sit at the table across from you. And it's going to be a competition to see who can treat you the best. And it comes down to two things. Can they secure it? And then can they produce a yield? That's all it is. Are my assets going to be safe? And then what's the yield going to be? How are you generating it? And how sustainable is that going to be? And for me, it's a matter of, we got Doppler Finance, we got White Rock, we got Other Group, we got Another Suit, we got Bank of America. They're all going to be sitting across the table from us. We got the gold. And so let's just let them come to us. H-bar, yeah, I'm bullish on H-bar. That sucker went down to a great level. A great level for H-bar. Yeah. XRP at $1.93, looking like it wants to finish the day green. Take a look at it. XRP on the daily flipping green. $1.93. XLM. Now, see, we're on the daily chart, and this is when we came back down was March. Now, I put up my warning out to the Discord group on March 9th, and I said, hey, guys, let's watch it. We're coming back down. And the big level of support that I had on XLM was 20 cents. Now, we didn't hit it back then, but this is why it pays to be patient. We did end up hitting it today. Basically, last night in the middle of the night. So this is why it pays to have conviction. I've learned this, now that I've been in the markets for 6 years, I've learned to trust my gut, my analysis, and to not give up on it. Because sometimes you'll get these moves where you get close, but you don't go all the way. And where many people say, okay, that's it, it's time to reverse course. No, sure enough, we did actually come back down and tap the level of support that we had right there at 20 cents. Now, Flare, it got close. This is back in March. You see the collapse right here. And I keep on having to stretch down this fib retracement because Flare just keeps on going down to lower lows. So not only did Flare eventually come down to this level of support right here at 0.013, now it went all the way down to 1 cent here today. So it passed through the level of support that I noted. And this is all great buying opportunities for XDC. Look at this. Back on March 11th, we got close to my target. My target was at just over 6 cents. We got to 0.062. We got awfully close. We got to 0.063. My target was 0.062. But then today, sure enough, boom, right through it. This is why it pays to stay patient. For Algorand, my target was at 1621. Where did it hit March 11th? It only went down to 17.5 cents. Where did it hit today? All the way down here to 14.6. Right on through to those levels. Stronghold breaking down below. I'm going to have to lower this fib extension down to here. Got to adjust it. You got to adjust it. Okay. And obviously this retracement is to show us where Stronghold is going to go to the upside. So we got to readjust that lower here. That's going to reduce the level that we're going to go to on the upside. But we actually did go through my levels back in March 10th and March 11th. I had this level of support. We broke right through it. Had this bottom of level of support. We got close back then, but then we broke through it last week, and now we're way below it down here today. Nice little opportunity. Let's find another one. How about H-bar? Level of support that I had was 17 cents. We got awfully close back in March 11th, but then we broke through it last week, all the way down here to 12.5 cents today. Incredible buying opportunity on H-bar, a coin that I think is going well above $1. You know, my first levels of take profit on H-bar are right below $1, but I do think that there's a good chance H-bar could stretch up above that. To pick it up at 14, 15 cents right now, incredible opportunity. In fact, I was looking at buying more H-bar today. I was kind of debating between buying more H-bar or buying more DAG, which, speaking of DAG, look at this one. Got awfully close to my target on March 11th, but then managed to wick through it here today. DAG. Yeah, holding up really well. Holding up really well. Telcoin was another one. You know, didn't quite come down to my levels back earlier in March, but sure enough, right towards the end of the month, down today, we went all the way down to 0.003. This is where patience pays off. For Corium, we had that level of support at 10.5 cents, perfectly down to it. So basically, all targets were hit. Sologenic went down to 20 cents. Block V. Boy, did this one get big correction on Block V. You know, down 70% from that peak that we just hit. Big correction down to 2 cents right now for Block V. Swiftcoin. This one bled hard. 83% from that most recent high, which is why we want to take profits on these coins. When they go off and they pump 14x. This is why I said that I took profit on XCN. XCN pumps 4,000%. Well, sometimes after an asset pumps 4,000%, it might retrace by 84%, which is what XCN did. XCN down below 1 cent today, down to 0.007, and right now it's at 0.009. I think you got good buying opportunities on a lot of these coins. It's just a matter of, which one do you feel the most strong about? For me, I was mostly looking at H-bar and DAG, personally. Dennis, thank you for the Seagate update. I know you've been telling me about that one. Yep. Seagate, 110 down to 68. Dividend yield of 4.3. Owns 4% in Ripple equity. Screaming buy. Value not adjusted on books. Spin-off or keep it on the books. Yep. And there's just great value went on sale. That's what happened. Great value went on sale. And is still on sale right now. Father Woody, thank you for the 5 spot. Yo, Zach, just wanted to stop by and say I hope you're well, brother. God bless. I couldn't be better. We could not be better. We are so blessed right now. And I couldn't do it without your guys' support. So thank you so much for being here. Father Woody, appreciate you and good to hear from you. Crypto established 2018. Thank you for the 5 spot. What's your thoughts on this bag? 17,000 XRP, 100,000 XLM, 125,000 XDC. XDC is a sleeper. I agree. XDC, my targets are 40 to 50 cents. Big fan. And XDC is actually on my list for an updated deep dive. I've done an XDC deep dive in the past. It was like a couple years ago. And so I'm looking to do an updated XDC deep dive. I'm bullish. 40 to 50 cents is my target. You're super chill. Yeah, thank you. Sometimes I do get fired up and I do rant a little bit. But, you know, it's just midday. We're enjoying our coffee, enjoying the show. Yep. Yeah, Dennis, I'll have to check that one out. Now, as far as that bag goes, fantastic. 17,000 XRP, great. Great. You're already rich, basically. 100,000 XLM, fantastic. And 125,000 XDC, yeah, you're going to do really well. You're going to do really well. Now, the question is, though, you know, how are we positioned as far as trading those bags, taking profits on those bags? I got, like I said, XDC going up to maybe 40, 50 cents this bull run. I got XLM going up to $1.50, $2 this bull run. And I got XRP making a move towards $7 to $10 in the next 30 to 60 days with an outlook of $20 plus by the end of this year into next year for XRP. So I don't know what your average is, how much money you put in, but with those bags, you are going to have a chunk of change that's, you know, going to be able to do something. You'll be able to do something with that. So yeah, that's a great bag. Great bag. You can never have enough XRP though. I tried flexing on this chick, my XRP bag the other day. She said, "Ain't you losing money?" Well, that's what I told Austin from Omni when he was on the Crypto Bachelor show. And I think that show is supposed to be airing later this month. Maybe that'll be some good television. Me and wifey can watch that. She likes those drama shows. You know, I don't watch any of that stuff. But I might watch it just because it's the Crypto Bachelor. And I told Austin, I sure hope, I asked him if he told any of the girls about his Ethereum bag. And he said he did. I said, that didn't go over too well, did it? He said, no, not too well. That's, yeah, first mistake. Don't tell him about the ETH bag and only tell him about half the XRP bag. Okay. All right, guys. Hey, I'm going to run. I think we're going to go on a walk with the family. I will be back here in a couple hours on the trench warfare space on X. If you guys are looking for that link, just go over to my X profile and make sure you guys have followed me over there. And then I've already shared it out or retweeted it. But I'll put out another post after I get off this live here so that everybody can find that. But that'll be at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. Going to have a lot of fun in that space. And then we'll be back tomorrow with our regular show, okay? On the way out, if you guys could, I really do appreciate it when you like the videos. It really does help us out. Thank you for doing so. If you're new here, make sure you guys have subscribed and hit that notification bell. And I have quick links for our resources down below, but you also can find the rest of them at zachrector.com. I appreciate all of your support, and I will see you guys tonight at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern in Trench Warfare. We're going to go have some fun with the D-Gens, okay? God bless you all. Thank you.